What if I told you that maybe the best way to improve your grades right now might be to stop studying? Because the way that we've been brought up as students and how school has taught us how to study might have been completely wrong. Because if you were like me, you probably also really hated studying. And do you want to know why I procrastinated on my studying all the time? It was because studying to me felt like a really, really boring and annoying thing that I had to do. But once I learned how to study efficiently, I didn't just get better grades, but I actually enjoyed studying a lot more. And so in this video, I'm going to help you do the same. I'm going to give you 3 tips that completely changed the way how I viewed studying. And by the end of this video, I guarantee you, your entire perspective on studying will literally be transformed. If you're new here, my name is Matthew, and I'm a A-level student who recently graduated high school with 3 A stars and 1 A's in my A-levels. And in this video, I want to help you to do the same as well. So what if I told you that the best thing you could do right now is to study less? I want to share you a story that I recently just learned, and it's super insightful. It literally transformed the way that I viewed studying and work as well. So once upon a time, there were 2 woodcutters. There was a young woodcutter that challenged an old woodcutter to a chopping tree challenge. The challenge lasted like a whole day. And so when it was time for the young guy and the old man to compete against each other, the young man hammered away at the tree for 10 hours straight. He didn't even take a single break. He was just chopping the tree like 1, 2, 3, and he was just doing that over and over again. But then, as he was chopping the tree, he could hear no chopping sound from the old man who was like on the other side of the hill. And the young guy was thinking to himself, what is this old man doing? Is he not wasting time? Oh, whatever, I'm just gonna keep chopping this tree. So that's what he did. The young man kept chopping the tree, and every hour he would hear the old man go completely silent. The old man wasn't even chopping wood or anything. He was just doing nothing. But after 10 hours had passed, the young man went up to the old man and was super surprised because he found out that the old man just finished chopping the tree and he was just sitting down, chilling with like a glass of tea in his hand. And the young man was so surprised. He thought to himself, wasn't this old man just like goofing around? Wasn't he just being lazy? So the young man asked the old man, how did you do it? I haven't even finished chopping my own tree yet. How did you finish chopping it while I was doing it nonstop? The old man smiled at him and replied, when I was taking breaks, I wasn't just doing nothing. I was sharpening my axe. And to me, that is such a powerful story because it just goes to show that when you're taking breaks, you're not just wasting your time. You're sharpening your own mind. You're not just, the old man, when he was taking breaks every single hour, he wasn't just doing nothing. He was actually being productive. Every time you're studying, you're swinging the axe of your mind. And every single time you don't stop to sharpen it, you're losing focus and you're losing like the ability to focus and stay locked in on the task. And so this actually leads to the next point, which is the study equation. All right, so this is the study equation. Output equals time times intensity squared. You know, when the old man was sharpening his axe, he was increasing the intensity of his output. So every single time he struck at the tree, like he created more of a dent in the tree than this young man over here. Because this young man was swinging with a dull axe for 10 hours straight, while this old man was swinging less than the young boy, but every time he swung and hit the tree, he made a bigger impact. And that directly leads to this equation, which is output equals time times intensity squared. So how do you study less? Because I'm guessing most of you want to study less, right? Well, why don't we just rearrange this equation for time, do a little bit of basic algebra, and we'll find that time equals output divided by intensity squared. So actually, if you want to have more output using less time, then the key here is to increase the intensity of your study session. So let's do a little bit of basic math, right? Let's say I wanted to get 10 output and I wanted to do it in less time. Well, if I'm operating with 5 intensity, what is 10 divided by 5 squared? It's like 0.4, right? So I'm spending 0.4 units of time to get 10 units of output. Now let's rearrange. Now let's try this again. Let's say I wanted to get the same 10 units of output, but now my intensity is 1. Now you have to spend 10 units of time just to get 10 units of output. That just goes to show that intensity is a really, really, really big factor. So now that you've understood this study equation, so how can you actually implement this? Well, the question should be, how can I study with more intensity, right? And I think the best way to study with more intensity is to go into an environment where it's easy for you to focus, because your environment actually dictates your actions, not the other way around. Instead of saying, okay, I want you to run 10 kilometers, what I would do is I would put you in my pickup truck and I would send you 10 kilometers away from your home. Well, now you've got no choice but to run back home, right? So the same way, you want to make studying your only option. And when studying is your only option, then it becomes really, really easy to focus and study with high intensity. So for me personally, I used to study in my room all the time, but then I realized I couldn't actually focus. Because to the left of me, there's olive oil, there's honey, there's walnuts and bananas. That's really distracting to me. So that's why nowadays I usually go and study in the library. And another way to improve your intensity is by taking longer breaks. Just like how the old man took more breaks, you can do the same as well. Studying doesn't have to be a 5-hour long marathon. It can be just 1 hour. Then you can take a nice 15 or 20 minute break. No one's stopping you. And taking that break is actually going to allow you to study the next session with more focus and more intensity. So me personally, I don't like studying for more than 2 to 3 hours in a given sitting. After I studied maybe maximum 3 hours in one sitting, I would probably just go outside, go for a walk, or maybe even hit the gym. For me, hitting the gym is a really, really good way to relax, both physically and mentally. Because if you want to take breaks correctly, you need to do it in a way where you're not constantly overloading your brain. I'm not scrolling on my phone like I used to. And to me, that really, really helps me study much faster. Okay, so the last thing that you need to know is leverage. So let me erase this for just a second. Okay, so let's say I wanted to move this rock off the ground. What will I do? Well, my first impulsive thought would probably be to go up to this rock and try to actually lift it with my own hand. That would be my first impulsive thought. But then, I realized okay, well, I could just use the laws of physics, use something called a lever. So with this lever, you can actually exert the same amount of force as if you were lifting the rock itself, but then you would actually exert more force on the rock. So the key here is to realize that not all levers, not all wooden planks that you use to move this rock are of the same length. Let's say I wanted to move this rock, but with a really, really short lever, okay, maybe it's just this long. Well, I'd have to exert way more force over here just to move this rock. So I actually have to apply more force than if I was just straight up lifting the rock by myself. Okay, so now what if I used this super, super long lever and applied the same amount of force? Well, according to the laws of physics, the force that is exerted on this piece of rock over here is length times force. So the longer the stick, the longer the wooden plank, the longer the lever, the more force you're going to exert on the rock. So that's why when I say that you can achieve higher grades in less time, well, this is exactly what I mean. And so by choosing a lever that is longer, you could actually get way, way better grades in less time. You could exert less force over here and still lift the rock because of this long lever, because you have leverage. And so the whole idea of this is that not all study methods are the same. Doing timed past papers probably gives you much higher leverage than doing, let's say reading your notes or reading your textbook. Well, the 80-20 rule states that 80% of the results comes from 20% of the things that you do. And the reason why the 20% gets you more results than the 80% is because they have leverage. So what this looks like in studying practice is instead of reading your textbook, rereading your lecture notes, I would just do questions first and then look at the textbook when I got those questions wrong, or if I just don't understand. Because that to me gives way more leverage than just reading your notes blindly. Another thing that you might think it's not really that high leverage, but it actually is just to take more breaks. Let your mind rest a little bit and just see how much more efficient your study sessions become. So once you've understand all these key 3 ideas, you will literally not see studying the same way again. So when a student comes to me and asks me, hey, is it possible to study less and get higher grades? My answer to them is yes, always. By the way, if you want to learn how to study faster for your exams, you might want to check out A-Star Students, which is my coaching community where I help students just like you study faster for their exams. Link in the description below. But as always, may God guide us on the right path, and I'll see you in the next video.